All right, welcome back to the channel. We have another unique product review today. We are going to talk about a high-rise crossbar I got for my truck bed around 22 months ago. So I had a very specific problem I needed to solve because we were going on a beach vacation. So I kind of had to scour the internet on options on what I wanted to look for there. So we will dive into why I chose what I did, go through the construction quality, the quality in general since I've had it, and any issues I may have, and we can kind of talk about the product in general. All right. So we're going to talk about the high-rise aluminum crossbar from Voodoo fabrication today. So have some notes over here that I want to get through that were important to me, not only at the beginning, and then notes as I've owned this thing for 22 months, what I like, what I don't like. So let's get through it. So the problem I had was we were traveling to the beach and there was 3 of us, and I had all of the luggage going into the bed of the truck and then under the tonneau cover. Obviously I had to take cooler and some other beach stuff. And I also wanted to take my electric bike. So as you saw from the photo at the beginning of the video, there's a lot stacked on there. So my solution was be able to, instead of getting a hitch bike carrier, because I got my hitch kind of basket carrier really cheap on, I think it was Facebook Marketplace. So I wanted to take advantage of that. And then that obviously took my spot for my hitch. So I had to figure out a different way to take the bikes down. So what I did was I ended up looking for a crossbar over top of my tonneau cover because I knew I didn't want to drill into my brand new Diamondback HD tonneau cover. That wasn't an option for me. 1, because I don't feel comfortable doing that because I'm mechanically declined. And 2, I just don't want to, what I viewed as ruined my, my brand new tonneau cover. So if you don't know about the Diamondback HDs, they can hold over 1,000 pounds on top of them. So putting the electric bicycles on top of that was not an issue. Without batteries, they weigh around 65 pounds per. So that wasn't really an issue in the sense of weight. I could have bought 2 crossbars, put a basket on top of those or some sort of carrying, apparatus, and then put my cooler and other stuff inside of that basket as well. But because I got the hitch basket really cheap and it was really good condition, I wanted to take advantage of that. So that's kind of where we were. So that was my problem, and our trip down was about a 13-hour trip. So I wanted to make sure, obviously, everything would be secure for that kind of a long haul because it was going to be, obviously, continuous 13 hours. Didn't want to have any problems. So let's talk about the construction of the Voodoo fabrication high-rise aluminum crossbar. So the crossbar itself is made of aluminum, and it's powder-coated. So that obviously helps with aluminum. Doesn't really rust in general, but it anything can rust over time if you have some imperfections in that. So they do powder coat it as well, which is nice, gives a nice uniform finish. The uprights that hold the actual crossbar, they're 7-gauge steel. They're also powder coated as well. All the hardware that you need comes with it, so you don't have to buy anything additional. That's pretty standard, but just putting that in there. The handle locks, which come on the side, so as you set the crossbar in, there's little handle locks that you screw in. The outside of those are plastic with like a plastic button. Not a huge fan of that, but over the 22 months, I haven't had any cracking, even in the cold weather. I'm up here in the Northeast, so it gets pretty cold in the winter, and I keep that thing on pretty much year round, so I haven't had any issues there. And that bolt that actually goes into the upright and through the crossbar, that's stainless steel, so no major rusting issues there either. The cross rail sits 6 inches above the rail of the truck bed. So on top of your actual bed of your truck, usually have some sort of like plastic cover or whatever that looks like. It actually sits 6 inches above that. And there's a tonneau cover guide on their website. So if you have a specific tonneau cover and you want to look up to make sure that it covers over top of that, or it's going to work in your setup or your scenario, you can go on their website and take a look at the tonneau cover guide if you have any questions. The width between the uprights is 63.63 inches, which I think is kind of interesting, 63. The crossbar is 3 inches wide and 1.75 inches high. It's kind of like a channel. It's like an aluminum channel that looks like they just bent. Plenty of connection holes across the crossbar, so there's plenty of ways to connect the different things that you may want to attach to it, whether that's some sort of platform for a tent, whether that's bike fork mounts, whether that's some sort of kayak or ski carrying, connections, whatever that looks like. There's plenty of holes and plenty of different ways that you can actually connect the things that you're trying to connect. And for my instance, I was using bike fork mounts for mine. The load rating is 150-pound dynamic and 400-pound static per 2 cross rails. So I only had one, but I know I wasn't going to get anywhere near the 150-pound dynamic because I was only looking at 2 different bikes that were staying stationary, not so much dynamic because I had them strapped down. So I wasn't within that too much, and I wasn't really concerned about that at all. The attachments, the ability, so with the uprights that actually hold the crossbar, you can connect them to a bed rail system. If you don't have a bed rail system, they also have a no drill like clip setup, much like many tonneau covers, so you don't have to drill into your bed. They have like these, the brackets, the steel brackets that you connect actually to the metal part of the bed, or if you have it, rhino lined or whatever. They have that option as well. I have a rail system inside the bed of my Gladiator, so I was able to bolt into the rail system, and it was very sturdy, held very well. So quality. So I've had this, like I said, for 22 months. I've had little to no rust issues. There's a couple tiny spots inside the uprights. It has they probably laser cut or water jet the Voodoo into the side of it as kind of like logo branding, but inside the some of the O's where the powder coating maybe didn't get in there as well as it should. There's a little bit of signs of rusting, nothing terrible, and then a little bit on the bolts, on the plastic kind of lock-in handles. There's a little bit there, but that's about it after 22 months, and it's always outside in the elements, always on the back of the truck, and I really haven't taken it off since I got it. Once again, I'm not a huge fan of the plastic handles, but I haven't had any issues up to this point. They haven't broken. I've cranked down on them to make sure that the crossbar's locked in. They do have a push button. The push button, if you're locked in really hard, obviously doesn't allow you to push it any farther. But absolutely no issues. I haven't broken them, but I also haven't cranked more than hand tight, which I don't think you need to do, so just realize that. And it doesn't get cold, like I said, in the Northeast, so I have had it in colder elements. The quality, I love the easy on and off. If you leave the stainless bolt that the crossbar kind of sits into, and you leave that just a little bit loose, but you use the kind of the handles to lock everything in, it's very easy to take on and off. I do like that because I have a V-shaped Diamondback cover, so the panel that's closest to my back window tilts up, and then the panel closest to the tailgate also tilts up, and you get kind of a V shape. But when the crossbar's on there, obviously you can't take the panel side, or whatever side you have the crossbar on, that won't be able to go up. So it has an easy off. You can pick it up, you can lay it right down the center where the V kind of hits the truck bed, and then you can actually lift both sides of the panels. And the V-shaped panels also miss the uprights because they sit kind of out away from the truck bed, which is nice. You don't have to take everything apart just to be able to lift up the panel parts of your tonneau cover. So if you have a single lift tonneau cover, all you have to do is take that crossbar off, and it should be able to miss the uprights because they stay out a little bit from the bed, which is good. The actual crossbar, so I looked this up on an online calculator just based on the length, the width, the height, the material being aluminum, and the thickness, and they said anywhere between 5 and 10 pounds is probably what that weighs to lift that up across there. So I can do it personally as myself. I realize not everybody maybe will be able to lift 5 to 10 pounds because it is 63 inches long, so it's a little awkward there, but I'm able to lift it on and off myself. And just a heads up, it's between 5 and 10 pounds that you're gonna have to lift off, so you don't need help if you have to be able to lift that off to lift up your tonneau cover or whatever that looks like. It's a really great sturdy solution, like I said, for a long-term haul. I was able to lock my bikes down in. I didn't have any problems with the connection between the fork mounts and the crossbar. My problem was, if on my electric bicycles, they're the ultra wide tires because I take them on sand, and with those ultra wide tires you get ultra wide forks. And if you've ever tried to buy the extra wide bike fork connections, even with the super wide tires, they fit, but not securely enough that it's super comfortable. So I had to get the forks on there, and then they had that kind of lock nut that goes on there, and I couldn't get it far enough, to like put like a lock down through the other side of the bolt to make sure it would stay locked in. So my major concern was with the fork, the bike fork and the fork mount connection, not the bike mount to the crossbar. That had no issues. I locked those in. I used washers and lock nuts, and they didn't move at all. I had no issue there. And with all of the holes across the crossbar, you had plenty of places to find your connection point to get, the width you were looking for, to get the handlebars away from each other, all that kind of stuff. That wasn't an issue at all. The upright plate, so as the uprights come up and they attach out of your bed, they come out and then come up the sides of kind of outside your tonneau cover. There's a flat plate that sits on top of the top of your bed rail. That is thin enough that I haven't had water issues at that spot. So, it will leave. So with my tonneau cover, at the bottom of the actual hard part of the tonneau cover, there's like a rubber gasket that runs all along the outside. That gasket lays nicely and tight against that thin plate. That is the, what gauge steel? The 7-gauge steel, because they bent that out, comes out and then goes back up. I haven't had water leak issues there. What I'm going to say is if you have a hard tonneau cover to hard top of your bed rail, that may not work because you may not get a seal. And if it comes out, your tonneau cover comes out and kind of comes down along the side of the bed rail, that may not work either. So just, use the guide. If the guide's not clear enough, just call them. I actually had to contact them about a couple questions early on when I bought this, almost 2 years ago, and they got back to me very quickly through email and answered all my questions. So I would just reach out to them, and it says that right on the website. If you have any questions, just certainly ask them. And I talked about the light enough to handle with one person. So that's kind of the product as a whole. I'm very impressed with the product, even after this time period. The uses that I have used it for, which was really for bike connection, it worked well with the connection. It just, my connection to the bike didn't work well. But I could see easily being able to use this as a 2-bed system, using a basket on top of the rail, the two rail system, and then setting things on top of that. With my tonneau cover, I can actually set things right on top of the tonneau cover, so that's not a concern for me because I'm not usually carrying things over, 1,300 pounds on top of my tonneau cover. But if you have a tonneau cover that obviously can't hold that weight and you're looking to still gain advantages of putting things over top of your tonneau cover, these rail systems with some sort of bed racking system or, kayaks, skis, whatever, I'm very impressed with the Voodoo fabrication high-rise crossbars. There's a ton out there that you can get. I just didn't want to drill into anything because that just frightens me, especially with my vehicle, or anything I buy for them. So this is a no-drill solution. Remember that, make sure you check the bottom of the rubber gasket to make sure that that plate's not going to be an issue with your tonneau cover. Check out the tonneau cover guide. If you still can't figure it out, just call them. I'll leave the description or the link to the overall website down below. They have tons of different things now as well. I just checked the website today. They're doing full bed rack systems as well for overlanding type setups, so you can attach all kinds of things. They have all types of trucks on there that they cover as well. I stayed obviously in the Gladiator section to look at my high-rise solutions, but they have lots of solutions for lots of different truck setup, vehicle setups. So go ahead and take a look at their website. I'm not personally getting paid. This is just I thought it was a really good product. It solved a really difficult kind of problem for me, a really unique problem, not difficult, a unique problem that I wanted to resolve. So I went with them, and I'm happy with the purchase still to this day. I think one rail was like $280 something, so it's certainly not a cheap solution. And if you're going to get two to set up some sort of tent setup or whatever, skis or whatever, realize you're going to be over $500 for both of them. But after 22 months, I haven't had any really issues, and the quality has stayed reasonably high for that solution. So if that's something you're looking for, and you're looking for a bed rail rack system setup, I went with Voodoo Fabrication with their high-rise aluminum crossbar. So if you have any questions, once again, as always, leave them down below. I answer every single one of my questions. I hope to be able to do that forever, but who knows? Hopefully we hit it big, and that may be harder than it is right now. But for now, I will make sure I get back to you. If I don't have the answer, I'll try to find the answer. If I can't find the answer, I will point you in the direction of where you need to go. So we will leave it there, and we will catch you on the next video. Thank you.